and the mic. Hosted by four-time Emmy-nominated producer Frank Payton and retired New York City firefighter, 9/11 first responder, and Vietnam vet, Billy O'Connor.
Today's guest,
two-time winner on the PGA Tour, pro golfer Donnie Hammond.
My brother.
I can't. Good morning, Frank. How are you, my brother?
How are you today?
Good.
What's so funny?
Just thinking about something. I'm not going to talk about it on the air. Just thinking about something.
Well, our guest today is Donnie Hammond, former professional. Well, I guess he's still a professional golfer. Winner of the Bob Hope Open in 1986 and a two-time PGA Tour winner, and finished in the top 40.
Yeah, top
10 40 times on the PGA Tour. So he'll be a
40 times.
Good guest. We'll discuss the recently completed Masters, won by Scotty Scheffler, and the upcoming major tournaments.
And it was hope for all of us when he four-putted the last hole and still won.
Yep.
How many? I don't remember the exact. How many times could he have putted? Could he have putted 6 times? And
Six
still
times.
Won?
Yeah.
6 times and still won.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing.
That would have been amazing. It would have.
I mean, I didn't watch the whole Masters, but when I did watch the last hole, I really got interested. This is pretty cool.
You're a pretty good player, aren't you, Billy?
Me? I think the more I play, the worse I get. I've heard some things, and I want to ask Donnie about it. I've heard some things like for amateurs. And, you got to realize, I guess, not being a good golfer, then you got to realize your limitations half the battle, right? You got to know what you're capable of doing, And I read a long time ago that for an amateur, if they take all the pins out on the 18th hole, most amateurs will shoot 5 strokes better. If you don't know where the pin is. Because you'll aim for the center of the fucking
Of course.
green.
That's where I aim for all the time.
No matter where the pin is.
No matter where the pin is, I just try to hit the green.
Yeah, because
I'm not as precise that I can hit the green. Hit the pin. I just shoot for the green. If I miss left,
the middle of the green.
Yeah, or I know I'm going to miss one way,
right,
left or right. If I'm lucky, I'll hit the green. So
yeah, that's and if they put these pins, if the placements are tough, and they put them near the sand trap or something like that, and you're an amateur and you're shooting for that pin, you're an idiot.
Well, you're an idiot anyway.
But the game, I'll tell you a quick golf story. There's a guy, guy's playing golf with his buddy, and the guy hits the ball into the woods, and the guy goes, "That's gone." The guy goes, "Oh, no, not with my ball. Not my ball. I'll find that ball." I go walking into the woods, and the ball bounces up, goes beep, 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 spinning around. The guy goes, "That's freaking amazing." Next hole, he hits it into the water. The guy said, "Well, that's gone." He goes, "No, not with my ball." Sure enough, the ball pops up. Beep, 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 beep. That's amazing. He says, "You can't lose this ball." He goes, "It's an amazing ball." He says, "I got this ball." He says, "No matter where you hit it, you can't lose it." He says, "Great." He goes, "Where can I buy one?" He says, "Oh, you can't buy one." He says, "Well, where the hell did you get it?" He says, "I found it." Yeah, so
where do you come up with these stories?
I don't know. I hear all these old jokes. Over the years, guy goes into a confessional. "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. Father, I'm a devout Catholic, but I use bad language out in the golf course." Priest says, "Don't worry, my son." He says, "I'm a golfer myself." He says, "Tell me what happened." He said, "Well, he said, I play this guy. He said, I want to beat this guy so bad. We play all the time." And he goes, "We're playing for money." He goes, "And we're tied going into the 18th hole." He says, "And I hook one into the woods." He goes, "Say no more, my son. I get it. You're mad. You hooked it into the woods. You used bad language." He goes, "No, Father. I held my temper. Then." So I got into the woods. He says, the pin was about 140 yards away. He says, I saw a small opening, just a small opening in the trees. And I said, maybe if I hit my 7-iron, I can get it through that opening. He said, I hit that 7-iron, hit the little tip of a tree, bounced around and landed right on my feet. He goes, "Say no more, my son. I get it. You use bad language." No, Father. I held my temper. He said, "I took the same 7-iron. I said, I got one shot," because he was on the green already, but he was about 40 feet away. He said, "I got one shot." He said, "I hit the 7-iron. Through that same hole." It was like a miracle. It bounced once, ran up next to the pin, bounced next to the pin. It stopped about 1.5 feet away. There's a silence. And the priest says, "Don't tell me you missed the fucking putt."
You know what? Let's get Donnie.
Donnie will have more to say about golf than I will.
Let's get Donnie Hammond on, Derek. Can you do that for us, please?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Let's do it.
Hey, Donnie, how are you?
Frank, doing well.
Good to see you, my friend. That there is Billy O'Connor and Derek Harris, our third in the booth.
Hello, hello.
Nice to meet you, Donnie.
Hello.
Pleasure. Thanks for coming on the show, pal. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, Billy. Good to talk to you.
You had quite a career. I think that today we're going to review the Masters, which you have great success in, and preview the upcoming tournaments and talk a little bit about your career and your life.
Okay.
So what'd you think about Scotty Scheffler?
Scotty Scheffler put on a show that was unbelievable. Coming into the Masters, as the number one player, newly minted number one player, and then having that pressure on him to be able to come in and play like that was just outstanding. And, I mean, what a short game. You saw some of those up and downs that he had that were just amazing. That course is really difficult around the greens, but I mean, some of those shots, the one he hit on 3 was the shot of the tournament, I guess, there on Sunday. And it was fun to watch. It's always fun to watch the Masters.
How does a guy go from never having won a tournament to winning 4 of the last 8? I mean, you got into that hot zone a few times in your career. What's that like?
I think it's, you've heard it on TV once in a while. Once the guy gets his first win, look out. You get the lid off that, and then you're just going to have a chance to unleash that confidence that'll be there. And I think the Ryder Cup helped him a lot, being picked on the Ryder Cup and then performing like he did in the Ryder Cup. But then to win on the PGA Tour, that's every little junior golfer's dream when you're 12 or 15 years old, to be able to go ahead and win one on the PGA Tour. It gives you a lot of confidence. You feel like you belong out there on the driving range. And then, you just carry that momentum. I mean, usually it takes you 6 months or another year or years to win another one, if you are lucky enough to win a couple. But he did it just, right on top of each other, then gets to be number one. But then carrying all that, that burden into the Masters was quite a feat that week.
So you think, I mean, basically, if you're not, when you lose your virginity is when you start getting your confidence, like if you manage to win a tournament. But if you take somebody like Tiger Woods, I remember when he was at the top of his game and he retooled his whole swing. And when you were in his zone, you were just coming off retooling your swing, right? That takes a lot of balls, don't it? I mean,
yeah, to be able to trust it, you can take it on the driving range. It's one thing, we all hit on the driving range good. Frank probably is like a 2 handicapper on the driving range, but then to be able to take that to the first tee is a whole nother story. So when you're changing things within your swing and you're thinking about it, hitting shots into greens on the PGA Tour, that's another story. So that usually takes weeks or months to be able to put into effect. But sometimes that's all you need is that little click, that one little thought on your backswing or one little thought on your downswing that just gives you that confidence that, lets you go on and be a world beater, at least for a week or a couple of weeks in a row. So it's tricky. It usually, I've said it takes a couple of weeks once you get a lesson for those positive effects to go into effect. But on the PGA Tour, usually it even takes longer.
Let's stay on the Masters because how much do you feel Scheffler's switching caddies made a difference in his play? He took Bubba Watson's caddy Teddy, and he won on that streak. How much do you attribute this change of caddies to?
I think Teddy's had a great influence on Scotty, and especially there at Augusta because, Ted's won a couple there with Bubba at Augusta. So he knows, how it's going to play on Sunday. He knows what the emotions are going to be like for a player to be able to get through. And he's pretty loose. Teddy's loose out there, keeps his players, keeps the heart rate down a little bit, has fun. And he was big influence. And Scotty, I'm sure he gave him a lot of credit for that win and what he's done so far for the last 3 or 4 months. And Caddy seemed to have played a little bigger role in the last, I'd say, 5 to 8 years with players, because you hear so much more conversation on the golf course. The mics are picking up a lot more conversation on the course, and you can hear, between Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Scotty Scheffler, even Bubba out there, that caddies seem to help a lot more now than they used to back when I played the tour.
Well, in 1986, when you finished, when you were trailing, who was it? Greg Norman, Seve, and tied with Seve and Bernhard. Did you have a Masters, an Augusta caddy, or did you have your own caddy?
I had a caddy, Sonny Clifton, that caddied for me at the Bob Hope when I won that year. So Sonny came in, and he had already caddied at Augusta several years and was kind of grew up around that golf course. So when he came in and caddied for me there, we're 1 stroke out going into Sunday, and I'm thinking, this guy is the greatest caddy ever. We're going to win every tournament, because that was the second tournament that I was with Sonny, and we were, flying with confidence. But he was a big help on the greens, especially because, the first couple of years you play there, those greens are so tricky. The chips from around the green and just the ball placement is, it's really tough there the first couple of years to learn that golf course. He was a big help, though.
But your first year, you were trailing Norman by 1 stroke going into the final round. How did you learn the course so quickly?
Actually, the craziest thing, on Tuesday, I'd already played 18 holes. I was hitting a few putts, getting ready to barbecue some pork chops that night at dinner very soon. And this fellow comes off the 9th green. He looks over and he says, "Hey, rookie, you want to go 9 holes?" I look over. It's Arnold Palmer. And I said, "Love to, Arnold. I'll be right there." So Arnold and I played the back 9 that evening around 5:30, just the 2 of us. And he took so much time helping me with, where the pins are going to be on each day, where to place it off the fairway, where to come in from, where to leave your approach shot. And it was just amazing. It was like, getting 5 years experience there, in 2.5 hours with Arnold on Tuesday. And that helped a lot, really. That was very helpful for me.
Yeah.
And I was coming in.
I had read that he showed you the lines off the tee. Now, I'm not a golfer. I'm a hacker. What does that mean, the lines off the tee? He's showing you where you should come in? Is that what he's...
Yeah, say, for instance, 10. When you get to the 10th tee and, you have to hit a big hook there. So, you can pick out a certain pine tree in the distance. And he says, "Donnie, if you hit a little 15-yard hook here, you start it off that pine tree, it's going to absolutely be perfect. It's going to hit that hill. You're going to get an extra 30 yards of run." And, that's one instance. 14's another hole that, that kind of goes up and goes to the right. And back then I was playing a cut off the tee. So that was a tricky hole. There were a lot of pine trees right on the corner there. And I remember us talking about that. He said, even with your cut, you can start it right there and still keep it in the right side of the fairway. So it's like when I got there Thursday and Friday, I had already, had so much confidence in the lines that it's just stand up there and hit it. It's like Arnold was almost kind of caddying for me a little bit there the first couple of days with the info that, that he gave me on Tuesday.
And you didn't make the last group. We were in the second group with, who were you with that day?
I played with Bernhard on Sunday.
So Seve was in the first group with Norman?
Yeah, Seve, Norman were in the last group.
What do you think of Bernhard still playing at 65, 66, lighting up this Champions Tour? Isn't that unbelievable?
Oh, he's unbelievable. 65, he's still, winning and winning the Charles Schwab Cup on the Champions Tour. Just the dedication he puts into the game, and he still loves it. He gets out there on a Monday the week of a tournament, he's one of the first guys at the golf course practicing. And he had maybe already won the week before. And then he's out there Monday. We'd still be maybe at a party Sunday night, Frank, after winning the week before. But he's out there on the golf course first off. So between dedication, tons of talent, and, his love of the game, it's a tough combination to beat.
We're talking about the 86 Masters. That was famous, of course, because Nicklaus came from way behind. He shot maybe 66 on the last day to win it all. What was it like to be on the course, and did you have a sense that Nicklaus was making a charge?
Yeah, he shot 65 on Sunday, and I think he was probably 5 or 6 groups ahead of us. So once you could hear like a couple roars on around 13 and 14, and then his name hit the leaderboard. And after that, you could tell what was going on, like the eagle on 15. That kind of sounded like an eagle. And a lot of us kind of were participants out there, because I started out a little bad on Sunday. I was just trying to make sure, finish off this round good, get in the top 20, get invited back, and don't make a spectacle of yourself here on Sunday. I ended up shooting 2 over, but finishing 11th. But the roars, coming from around the golf course were amazing, especially the one on 15. And then he hit a pretty close shot on 16. And, you could get a pretty good feel of what was going on. But until I actually watched it a couple months later, it didn't really sink in, what he actually did that day on the golf course.
Did his charge put more pressure on you or take the pressure off? Because you said you had shot over par on the front 9. Did it put the pressure on, or take the pressure off?
I think it put a little more pressure on, because I wanted to be part of the mix that day. I wanted to get back and be one of the guys that was up near the lead. I wasn't that far out, and I wanted to be part of the tournament that year. I felt like something special was happening that day, and I didn't know if I was close enough to possibly win the tournament, but I wanted to get back into the mix. So it was something everybody, I think, wanted to be part of. That was, in the last 3 or 4 groups out there.
And I think you closed strong. You probably birdied 2 of the last 4 holes, I believe, that day.
Yeah, I think I shot a couple under on the back 9 to finish 11th, but first little jittery there, the first 5 or 6 holes.
What was it like driving up to the Augusta for the first time in 86?
86, it was just felt like that was a reward, that this is what you played for, this is what you practiced, and put a lot of time in as a kid, and then in college. I won the Bob Hope that year, so this was like my reward, and I just thought, I'm just going to have a fun week, the whole week, and hopefully have some success there as well. But it was amazing. The property, it's everything that you see on TV. It's beautiful, great service there. Golf course is just immaculate, and it's just like a celebration that week. Everybody seems to be in a better mood. Of course, there's pressure, but it's it's kind of a celebration among the players that week.
And you said you won the Bob Hope that year. Is that the year that when you won the Bob Hope asked somebody, "Who's Donnie Hammond?"
That was the next year we were paired together. And we're walking up maybe like the 4th hole, and Bob said, Donnie, I was up in the tower with Trevino last year, and Lee Trevino says Donnie Hammond's just birdied 14, 15, and now 17, and he's 1 stroke out of the lead. And I looked at Lee and said, "Who the hell's Donnie Hammond?" I said, "Bob, you ever think of getting into comedy?" It's pretty funny. But he was great to play with. We're walking up one of the holes, a couple holes later, and I said, "Tell me one I've never heard." And he told me this long joke, and I had never heard it, but I told it.
Bob or Lee? Bob or Lee?
Oh, that was Bob. Yeah. Great joke, though. I'll tell you when we get together. It's too long to tell right now, but it was a great joke, really original, and I get laughs every time I tell it.
Why don't you tell it now? We
Tell
got
it now.
plenty. We got plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
You want to hear it now, right?
Yeah. Let's see if you want to get into comedy.
All right, I'll give it a shot. I think Bob might have delivered it slightly better, though. But that day we were paired with Gerald Ford, President Ford, and Tip O'Neill also. It was a great group. That's the champion. You get to play with that group the following year. But I said, all right, Bob, tell me one I've never heard. So Bob says this gentleman calls home. He's an executive, and he calls home. And he said, let me speak to the wife. And the housekeeper gets the phone and said, oh, no, sir, she's very busy. She's running around. It seems to be frolicking with the man of the house here. It doesn't look so good. And he said, well, you know where the gun is in the house, right? And she goes, oh, yeah, I know where to keep the gun. And he said, I want you to take that gun and I want you to shoot them both. She goes, are you sure? He goes, absolutely. She comes back and she said, okay, I take care of it. I shoot him. He's on the couch and she goes running out the back door and I shoot her a couple times and she lands in the pool. He said, pool? I don't have a pool. What phone number is this?
That's it. I think Bob is safe enough, but that's a good bit.
That was before cell phones. Yeah, I got the house phone.
So let me back up. You're playing with Bob, President Ford, and you went to Jacksonville University. So Fran Kinney, who's the president of Jacksonville University at the time you went there, her name must have come up because we wrote in a book about a trip that I made with Fran Kinney to Bob Hope's house. And
Gerald Ford's house.
And Gerald Ford's house. So what did you talk about? Did you relate that you had known Fran Kinney at all?
No, I don't think we talked about Fran. I don't think we talked a whole lot that day because there were so many people inside the ropes that day. Plus, it was the first round of a competition too, so I was a little bit serious about the round. But that didn't come up. I didn't even know that connection. Actually, I'll have to check that. Read that book.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, we talked a lot about Fran and Bob Hope and Gerald Ford. It was a
was Hope about a 10 handicap? Was he a good golfer? I mean, I know he was an avid golfer. Was he good?
He was a strong player. He was a better player than he gets credit for. He gets credit for always striking someone with a tee shot, but it seems like Bob Hope used to say President Ford's going to figure out which course he plays in Palm Springs after his first tee shot.
So Ford was a better golfer than he was given credit for. Hope was a really good golfer.
Yeah, he had a great swing. Bob had a really smooth swing,
really?
Great tempo. But yeah, Bob was, I think when we played, he was about 6 or 8 handicap, but he was good.
Wow.
President Ford was about a 10, but he could hit a pretty big tee shot. He could hit it 250 yards. But that started a nice relationship with me with President Ford because he invited me that week to his tournament up in Vail, Colorado, the Jerry Ford Invitational, which I got to play in, 10 or 12 years. Won it a couple times and just, had a great time up there in Vail in the summer months. Just a fantastic tournament. A lot of celebrities. Played with Yogi Berra a couple times. Charlie Pride. A lot of cool people played there, and it was a whole bunch of fun.
Well, this will probably be new information for you since you haven't read the book yet. But President Ford's son, Jack, went to JU for 2 years. See that?
Okay.
See,
I didn't know that either.
Yeah,
See that?
Information for you. I went out with a girl that looked just like Yogi Berra. Spit image of it.
So what was it like coming up 18 at the Bob Hope with the lead?
The Bob Hope that was pressure. I think I was maybe tied with John Cook. but I had one of the real breaks of my life there on 18. It was at Bermuda Dunes, Frank.
Yep.
Like right near where I first met you on the range there.
Yep.
Right down the hill from there. But I ended up hitting my second shot right up close to the green, just short of the green, maybe 2 paces. So I had a kind of an easy little chip shot, but I hit the chip shot a little soft, but it caught the fringe, right in between the fringe and the green, and it just took off. And it ended up being tap in, like 6 inches from the hole. But if it didn't catch that little spot, I probably would have had 4 feet, and who knows whether I would have made that or not. So that ended up getting me into that put me one ahead, and then John Cook was playing right behind us. He ended up hitting it onto the green in 2, had about 30 feet to win the tournament, and then he rolled it down, tapped it in, and we were in a playoff. So,
and then in the playoff, you sunk a 14-foot putt to win.
Yeah.
On the first hole. What hole was it?
Yeah, that was. I think it was the 14th hole of the course, but it was the first playoff hole. Actually, it was right there by the range. The tee is right down to the right of the range. But I made birdie on the first hole, luckily, and beat John Cook, who was a local favorite. My caddy was probably the only guy rooting for me, out of the 150 that were watching the playoffs.
I think it's interesting when you said before, as pro of your status, that you said it was a 4 foot, might have left me with a 4-foot putt, and who knows if I would have made it. I read that. I read that the most acute difference between an amateur and a pro are 3-foot putts. The amount of times you can sink a 3-foot putt, whereas a pro will sink it 97% of the time, and an amateur, especially on those greens,
maybe, yeah,
especially
the short game. Inside 6 feet, or getting it up and down from around the green. That's where a pro is gonna, he's gonna get it up and down 80-90% of the time, and sometimes the amateur, he may skid it over the back of the green. He may chunk it short, take 3 or 4 strokes to get it up and down, and all of a sudden he's sitting right there in 2 strokes, makes a 5 or a 6, and the pro's gonna, he's gonna make par just about every time. So
yeah, because I'm an amateur player, but I rake more putts than I do traps. You pick up a lot of 2-foot putts where these guys can't pick up 2-foot putts.
Yeah.
I haven't had one putt conceded to me on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, you'd think, 20, 25 years, they'd, throw you a couple bones here and there.
Yeah, I used to play with this guy all the time for $20, right, every day, and he'd say to me, "I have a 2-foot putt." I say, "Is that good?" He said, "It ain't bad. It ain't bad." But so, is it true then? I mean, to learn golf, to be a golfer, to give advice to a hacker, you learn it from the hole back. Is that the way to do it? The short game first, and then learn how to. Is that the way to learn how to play golf?
That's probably the way to score. I mean, that's the way to take the game serious and to score. But the fun is, first off, hitting the big tee shots. Yeah. Standing there and being able to launch it out there 260 or 280 with your brand new graphite shafted titanium head, $595 driver, and rocket flying. Who cares what I make on this hole? I just hit it like golden Steve.
Exactly.
No, I don't care.
And then be able to throw that club just as far as it sails into the woods.
You get to be a 10 or 12 and you want to get it down to 8 or 6 or 4. That's where, the short game and spending time around the greens really comes in handy. Actually get lessons from a good local pro on your short game. That's how you turn those 80s into 75s. So
now, do you think you get better? I mean, obviously, do you go to the range or do you go to the course? I mean, how do you get better faster? How do I become a scratch golfer overnight?
Well, like Frank, you'd give yourself a lot of putts.
Get an eraser on my pencil. Is that the idea? Get an eraser.
That's going to help. A sharp pencil and a But I'd say playing's more important, Billy. Okay. Being out on the golf course, just go play 27 holes. That's where you're going to figure out how to score, not standing there trying to perfect your swing on the driving range, because no one ever remembers a great shot that was hit on the driving range. They're going to be done on the golf course, and that's where you're going to learn most. I was always a practicer, though. I love to hit balls, 2 or 3 buckets of balls, but I think looking back, probably would have been a little better off, playing more, spending more time on the golf course, worrying less about your swing, where your right elbow was, your right knee, and everything else about, the mechanics of the swing.
Donnie, people don't realize how hard a professional golfer's life is at your level. Because usually, if you play on Sunday, you travel on Monday, you have to play a practice round on Tuesday, play a Pro-Am round on Wednesday, tee it up on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and start the whole routine again. So you're playing probably 6 days a week, and maybe some days 7. Does that get a little... do you live for that? Do you love that? What makes you continue to pursue excellence the way you guys have to pursue it?
I think, early on in your career, the game is still so much fun to be able to wake up, go to the golf course, practice. You could spend all day out there practicing and not get that tired. Plus, also, just as importantly, is you can practice all day and wake up and still not have a pain in your body the next day when you're 28 years old. But Billy and I, we go play 27 holes for 2 days in a row, and we're going to need therapy by the third day. So, when you're in your late 20s, 30s, the enthusiasm is there. The body holds up, but it does take a lot out of you when you play 2 or 3 weeks in a row and you get home. You can feel that adrenaline kind of wane a little bit when you get home the first day or two, and you're just exhausted from riding that kind of thrill that you were on there for 2 or 3 weeks, especially if you made all the cuts and you were playing a lot of rounds of golf. But when you're young, the enthusiasm goes a long way. Plus, you're playing some great courses and making a little money along the way too. So that kind of helps. You
played in 28 majors and you made the cut 21 times. What were your favorite memories of those majors?
I think between the Masters and the British Open, those were my favorite tournaments. The U.S. Opens were so tough that, it was just so much work out there in 4.5, 5 hours of playing. You're just barely struggling to try to make par on any hole. The PGAs were fun, but I love traveling. I love going over to Scotland, England, playing, against a different group of players, meeting some new people, and, different conditions too. You'd catch some pretty crazy weather in July in Scotland.
I loved reading that about you. You had mentioned that one of the things you loved about being a touring pro was the fact that you got to see the whole world and play golf. And you talk about Muirfield and the Royal Melbourne.
Australia. Great course.
Yeah,
great course. One of my favorite courses.
Actually,
yeah.
I actually played it.
You played it?
The course played me actually, but I actually got to play it. But,
those greens are so fast, and when we would play there. The week we would play the tournament there, the Australian Open tennis was right across the street. So we could play, a round of golf in that tournament and then go right across the street and watch, one of the majors in tennis. And it was really fun.
It's a great town, too. Melbourne's a great town. Just a great town.
Yeah.
I love it. One of my favorite places in the world. But let me ask you, when you play Muirfield and you play links courses like Ballybunion in Ireland and, all these great courses, the old course in Scotland, they're tougher, aren't they? Are those courses tougher in Europe than they are here?
Because they don't have irrigation over there, so you're at the mercy of the bounces, and it gets a lot windier over there. You're like a normal 15, 20 mile an hour wind would be like a normal summer day there. So you're fighting the wind. You're playing in different kind of terrain that it's not manufactured like here, where everything's more flat. The bunkers are perfectly maintained. Over there, the elements, the terrain is different. So it is a lot tougher. It takes a little getting used to, but that's also what makes it kind kind of fun for a lot of players if you look at it that way. If you look at it as fun, then it gives you a better chance to play well there.
You were within shouting distance at Turnberry in '86 and '92 at Muirfield. You finished 5th. What were those two experiences like for you? Did Faldo win both those years?
Greg Norman actually won '86. I think that was his first major.
So you lost
Turnberry.
You lost majors to Jack Nicklaus, Nick Faldo, Greg Norman. Pretty good competition you were playing against.
I know. I should have got on a different circuit. That was a different circuit. I should have played in Billy's group.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I could have made some money there. Maybe made as much money, and
you wouldn't have got too much money out of me.
He would have. You couldn't have cashed that check he would have paid you with. That's for sure.
But Turnberry was great because I was taking flying lessons, and I was in the lounge with Fuzzy. We were getting ready to take the Concorde over, like a charter flight, and he said, "Hang on a second. I might have a surprise for you." We get on the plane and we're getting ready to leave Kennedy up in New York, and flight attendant comes up and said, "Mr. Hammond?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Would you like to come up and sit in the cockpit for takeoff?" And I said, I think I would, actually. I'd love to. So they take me up. That was before 9/11. They put me right behind the left seat captain in the Concorde, and now we're taxiing out. I'm sitting in the cockpit right behind the captain, and we take off. We get up to about 50-some thousand feet, and then the little nose compartment comes up and locks right on the front of the jet. And she came in the cabin and said, would you like to go back to your seat? And I said, I would. And I walked back, and all the pros are there, and, they're on the flight and stuff. And I'm thinking, wow, my trip is pretty much made after that.
That's amazing.
But then
the highlight of finishing 8th or 5th in the Masters, in the Open, is the trip over in the airplane.
I liked flying about as much as golf back then, so it was pretty good. But I had also that week, Frank, I was paired the first British Open. I was paired with Payne Stewart and Seve the first 2 rounds, so that was pretty cool.
What can you tell us about Seve?
Seve started out a little slow there, but I think he ended up shooting like 64 on Sunday to finish top 5. I remember he beat me, by shooting a good round the last day, but he was intense. He was built for a tournament like the Open Championship, the way he could scramble and, just the way he played fearless. It was fun to watch him actually, play there. Picked up a few things, watching him chip too, which kind of was helpful for future years.
Yeah, and ironically, Payne Stewart died in a private plane crash when he. I guess they. I guess the airplane froze, or what happened in that? You're a pilot. You can explain it better than I can, because I'm stumbling all over the place.
Yeah, it lost pressurization, and the people in the plane, Payne and the pilots, I think they, it happened so quick that they were unable to get their oxygen mask on. So it just kind of knocked them fairly unconscious fairly quickly. And then the plane just continued to fly, for like 5 hours or so.
Until it ran out of gas.
Yeah.
I got to ask you a question on what you just said. You said you picked up a little tips and chipping that you kept with you for the rest of your life just by watching another pro play. How do you hone a swing for 20 years, 25 years? How do you make an adjustment just by watching something and say, I'll try that? That takes balls.
I'll tell you one little tip on the chipping that I picked up from Seve is you keep the shaft a little lean forward a little more. I was more straight up and down, kind of like you putt with the putter vertically, but Seve had a little bit of a shaft lean, which takes a little bit of the loft off the club and keeps it lower. And, even on your chip shots over there, it's kind of better to be closer to the ground. So that's one thing I remember playing over there. You hit a lot of bump and runs, and that helps you get it up and down, because a lot of times you can't fly it to the green. You have to chip it down this way, over there, and you have to be pretty creative.
That's what Harvey Penick tells amateurs. He says, get the ball on the ground as fast as you can. Like, if you're an amateur, like a mook like me, I'm just trying to get the ball hopefully close to the hole, So he says, actually, Penick said, if you're an amateur, reverse your grip and it'll keep your left hand straight and try and get the ball on the ground as fast as possible.
Like a reverse?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. For an amateur.
That's a good. And it's better to hit it lower. You don't want to try to hit a 60-degree wedge if you have 40 feet of green to work with, or 60 feet. You want to get in there with an 8-iron or a 6-iron, get the ball on the ground, and create more of a putting stroke where you're going back level. You don't have to come in and make perfect contact with the sand wedge. Get it on the ground and use your putting stroke.
What exactly is a links course? When you go overseas, especially Ballybunion or Muirfield, I imagine, links course. I hear the word links and I want to run for the hills. It means I'm going to put 20 strokes on my game. Well,
it's near the coast, means near the coast, and it's going to run.
Rougher winds.
No. Yeah, a lot of times it will run out in one direction, 6 or 8 holes, and then come back in another direction. But, links courses along the coast, and of course with that, you're going to get the winds, and you're going to get everything that goes along with that cooler air coming off the water too.
I believe too the definition of a true links course is that first 9 go out in one direction, and the next 9 come in, so that the back 9 comes in toward the clubhouse. So that first 9 is out away from the clubhouse, and the back 9 is in toward the clubhouse. That's the true definition of a links course.
Oh, so it doesn't have to be by the water.
Well, it does have to be by the water as well, but all the scorecards say out and in. That's where it comes from. The links course. That's where the definition comes from. It's loosely translated. I know I can tell you that I was over to Scotland one time in my life. I played St. Andrews on a benign day. I didn't make anything and shot 85. I played Troon on a day where I saw all 4 seasons in the same day. I made everything. I threw it, every putt I under 15 feet I made, and I shot 98. So
wow,
that's how those courses are affected by wind and the weather.
Now, you grew up in Maryland, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
You grew up in Maryland, then you went to Jacksonville University.
Yeah, I got out of there. It gets cold up there in the wintertime.
That's what I was going to ask you. Does the warmer temperature make for better golfers? Are more pros likely to come out of Florida, South Carolina, than they would come out of, climate like Maryland?
Normally, when you're from Pennsylvania, Ohio, it seems like a lot of the guys are going to want to go to school, Auburn, Wake Forest, right. University of Florida. But then you got some other examples of guys like Steve Stricker, Jerry Kelly, that have, went to school up north and still became great players, maybe Illinois. But I think for the most part, you're better off being able to play 12 months out of the year in Florida. That's kind of the advice I would give to juniors. If you're north of the Mason-Dixon line, find a place in the South that you like, whether it's Texas, Arizona, or Florida, and come on down and you can practice all year.
Well, JU now has got a pretty good golf program, and Jacksonville has become an epicenter of golf. But when you went there in '78, JU wasn't really a golf school per se, and you were under the tutelage of Coach Raleigh Rourke, who had been the basketball coach in the early '60s before Artis Gilmore. How did Raleigh contribute to your success as a golfer?
Raleigh was a great sportsman. He was, he knew basketball, he knew track, and he knew a little bit about golf, but he did know a lot about competition
right.
and the way to train.
Oh, wow.
He was, he knew how to train and how to get yourself in shape and how to compete. He was a good influence. He was a great motivator. He was a very funny guy. I would see him a lot in Jacksonville at the TPC tournament And every year we'd meet on the putting green, and I'd say, Riley, you're one of the reasons I'm here. You made a big difference. And I went into his office the second year of school, sophomore, and I was going in there to let him know I was going to be leaving to go to Embry-Riddle to kind of get into flight school there, be a corporate pilot, airline pilot, whatever I could do, I was going to go flying. And then came out of the meeting 45 minutes later with a little more scholarship money, and my plans completely changed to stay at Jacksonville the third and fourth year, with an idea that he put into my head that day that, Donnie, you may be able to get on the tour, and who knows, get an airplane, and then you can fly yourself on the PGA Tour. Think about that. So I kind of left the meeting that day thinking, I think my road just kind of changed somehow there. When there's, like Yogi used to say, when there's a fork in the road, take it. There was a fork in the road that day, and I ended up, deciding to stay in school. So every year I'd see Riley at Jacksonville for the TPC. I kind of let him know that that was a big moment for me, I'm sure.
Well, I always say if I truly hate a person, dislike a person, I would make him a 0 handicap and never make him get any better, because there's nothing you can do with a 0 handicap. You probably had about a 0 handicap coming out of Jacksonville. How could you get your game down to where it was when it was a -6 handicap or a -5 handicap or a -6 handicap? Did you do that on a mini tour?
Yeah, that's exactly where you kind of fine tune your game a little bit is, after college, Orlando was the spot to go to challenge, the best players around the country that wouldn't be on the PGA Tour. So the JC Goosey Space Coast Tour, 150, 200 golfers there trying to win your money back every week, and, try to avoid work for another year or two till you have to go back to your hometown and start selling insurance or cars or something else that you could find to do. So it was pretty tough, and it was competitive, but you learned how to really put a lot of emphasis on that 36-hole tournament to really make it count. So, you had to be consistent down there. You had to shoot some pretty good scores, because there were kind of the best players around the country that weren't on the tour right then. So it was, you learned a lot, and you learned a lot quickly there. And you played with a lot of good players. So you kind of picked up, a lot of little tips along the way.
Yeah. Did you how many Q schools did you play in before you got your card?
I think I made it the third Q school in '82. That was at TPC Sawgrass, and 2 of the rounds were at across the street at Sawgrass Country Club. But that was the one I had to make it there, Frank. If I didn't make it there, I probably would have gone back to Jacksonville University. I was a psych major, and I was going to be a marriage counselor, believe it or not.
I could have used you then too.
I could have helped many of you guys.
I definitely could. I don't know if I need you more as a golfer or as a marriage counselor.
So within those years, were you trying to qualify for tournaments? Were you going to Monday qualifiers? You mentioned trying to win back enough money to pay for the week. What was it like during those years trying to get your card?
Yeah, we would have the Q school. Back then, the Q school was twice a year. So you'd get 2 chances instead of just once. So there wasn't as much pressure at each school. But, we still had U.S. Open qualifiers. You could try to Monday qualify for, say, the Honda Classic or Doral. And a lot of guys did that. There were tournaments up in the Northeast that you could go in the summertime and play some tournaments up there. But mostly it was just a game in Florida to try to, win some tournaments there. And there was some pretty good money in the Goosey. Back then you could win $5,000 for first, which, in 81 or 82 was pretty good when you're only putting up, $350 to play. So you could make some money if you got hot there.
Tell the truth. Were you sleeping 4 to a room?
Couple nights probably.
Yeah, that must have been the hardest. We often talk about King of the Hill concept. When did you know you were good? When did you know you could make it on the tour?
I think it was that summer before I got my card. I think I was a leading money winner on the Goosey, and then I won the Florida Open, which was a good tournament. A lot of good players in that. And then I was just kind of gelling. So there was kind of pressure on me that year at the school that felt like I was coming in playing as good as I could. And that if I didn't make it at that one, that's going to be a big disappointment and might be time to get out of the game. So I think, but then when I won the Q school that week by 14 strokes, that gave me a lot of confidence.
14 strokes. Wow. That would give you confidence. I read that Nicklaus once said that the two greatest adversaries that you have as a golfer is the course and yourself. You're playing. How much of it is mental that you know your limitations? Like a guy like me, I know I'm not going to hit the ball 300 yards. I mean, do you play within yourself? Is that it? Know your limitations?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many intangibles to play the PGA Tour, and the mental part of it is probably 60 to 70% of those are mental, and the other are physical. But there's 20 or 25 small intangibles that it kind of takes to be there and be able to get on tour and stay on tour. But it's confidence. You have to believe in yourself. You're a one-man team basically. You're there. When you went, a lot of Sundays I woke up and I would be, a couple strokes out of the lead, ready to make a big check, and you just realize that there's not one person really that's going to help you. You're going to have to get there. You're going to have to show up on the driving range and show up on the first tee, and every shot you're going to have to project that out there and sink the putts, and it's just totally up to you. So it's kind of scary at sometimes, but you have to have that confidence. And even after a slow stretch, if you miss a cut or two, that's where it really gets tough, and you have to really believe in yourself that you're going to come back and that you're a good player, that you belong out there. Well, it's not easy to do sometimes.
Well, I imagine.
One week you belonged out there was the week of October 8th, the Texas Open. You won that tournament by 7 strokes. Listen to this. You shot 65, 64, 65, 64. You won by 7 strokes over Paul Azinger. How did you ever get in that zone again?
No, not quite like that. I mean, that was one of those Q school zones that, it's a combination of momentum. You're playing well, but then you're getting little breaks here and there. So it's kind of like you hit it in the right rough, but all of a sudden you got a perfect shot to the green because the tree is just short enough, and you're hitting 8-iron over the tree that it's just, you've laid it to where it's absolutely perfect to come into the green. And then that happens again and again. And it's kind of like that saying, that's your week. Nobody was going to beat you that week. So, I was hitting the ball well, I was putting well, and then you get a few breaks, and every once in a while, you come out on top.
How would you assess the upcoming PGA starts in the next couple of weeks, then the U.S. Open and the British Open? Who do you like in those tournaments, and how do you compare the courses? I know the Open's at the St. Andrews this year, isn't it?
Yeah. The Open will be at St. Andrews. I like Tiger that week. I think he's going to be one of the favorites. I really think Dustin Johnson will probably win a major this year, and it could be, the PGA. That Southern Hills doesn't really favor much of any different kind of golfer. You have to put it in the fairway. The Bermuda rough's pretty tough there, and it's kind of a traditional PGA Tour course. Once you get to St. Andrews, Tiger has so much experience there. He loves it. He's going to be tough there. But also Dustin Johnson, the way he drives the ball, he's going to be a force. And then I guess you can't count Scotty Scheffler out any of the next couple majors with the run he's on. It's good to see Jordan Spieth coming back, showing some pretty good form. Justin Thomas is playing great. It's kind of fun to watch these days to see who breaks out on a given week.
You know, you mentioned Tiger. Tiger's now 46. And there's a reason the Champions Tour pros start playing in the championship once you hit 50, and you can relate to this. How do you think he'll be able to walk 4 rounds is my question. Do you think he'll be able to put 4 good rounds together at 46 years old?
Actually, I do. I think I do, and especially a course like St. Andrews, because you get over there, the weather is going to be probably mild, maybe even chilly. But it's pretty flat. It's, very flat course, easy to walk, and he loves it. His energy is going to be up there. And coming off the Masters, the way he played, and he got around that course, and that's about as hilly as you can get really in the States. And he's probably going to get stronger. He's going to get a little more confidence. So, I mean, you come over there with all the betting in sports these days, I would not be surprised to see Tiger as one of the top 2 or 3 favorites, going into that tournament.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There
Who
you
do
go,
you
Billy.
think? Your opinion, of course, is just an opinion, but you've seen them both. Tiger, Nicklaus. Who do you think was? Why not?
That is a tough one. As far as, the streaks that Tiger had starting in the 2000s, as far as, the greatest golf that was played, I would say Tiger's probably the greatest golfer. But as far as the greatest competitor with the foremost record as of right now with the majors, and not even counting the majors, but all the seconds that he had in all the majors. So I'd say as far as the competitive greatness, I'd have to maybe give that to Jack right now. But as far as the best golf that was ever played, it would have to be Tiger, that stretch he had for 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, when he won Pebble Beach by 13 strokes.
Yeah.
What's your favorite tournament of all the tournaments?
The Masters. Masters was my favorite event to show up to. I loved Riviera though, out where you guys are in LA. I love that one, Frank. Had some good success there, finished second one year. But I just absolutely love that golf course, love being there, and love the city. Heard a good Neil Diamond song this morning. I was thinking about you before the show. I Said, where he's California born. You have to listen to it later. Good,
Well,
good LA.
I'm New York born. I'm New York. I'm New York
Yeah, but
born, Jacksonville raised, and Jacksonville 4
Right.
years in college, and out in LA.
that's a perfect song because that's what he is. He's a New York born, but he's in LA, and he's it's a great New York LA song. I just heard it. Well,
What year did you finish second in the LA Open?
I think I don't know, maybe around 92.
Yeah,
I
because
played with Nick Faldo and Freddie Couples the last round though.
and I think 92 I went to the LA Open because myself and John Macias, who created Touched by an Angel and St. Elsewhere and a bunch of shows, we went together and we went to see 17-year-old Tiger Woods playing his first tournament. Was that the tournament?
It might. I can't remember. I'm not good on the years back then.
I think it was 92, 93.
Yeah, I remember. I played a few holes with Tiger the year when he was an amateur. We ended up playing a few holes, and it was just amazing how far he hit it.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it.
Put together. What would your dream foursome be? Anybody in the world?
I never ever saw Ben Hogan in person, and I wasn't a huge follower of him. His swing back in the day when there were a lot of disciples, a lot of Texas pros, were trying to swing like Ben Hogan. But I would love to play 18 with Ben Hogan, and Byron Nelson was fantastic. got to, see him a lot over the years at the tournament there in Dallas. And then I'd try to play a fivesome. I'd try to get Bob Hope and President Ford again out there so I could get a few more jokes from Bob.
A couple of laughs.
That's pretty funny.
I think Ben Hogan, from my limited experience, I like to read, I think he wrote the greatest golf book, instruction book ever, The 5 Fundamentals of Golf, the golf swing. Ben Hogan.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, I think it's a great book. I mean,
yeah, a lot of people have used that over the years.
Billy, let me hear your foursome.
Well, you know what? I thought it was interesting that Donnie mentioned Neil Diamond, because I was thinking, if Ivanka Trump married Neil Diamond and divorced him and then married Jack Nicklaus, her name would be Ivana Diamond Nicklaus. Ivanka Diamond Nicklaus.
Yeah, I got it. I apologize, Donnie, for wasting 20 seconds of your life.
20 seconds of my life. Yeah.
That you'll never get back.
What was your lowest round ever, anywhere?
I think I shot 60 at my local course right here. 3-putted 17, and I was right there ready to shoot 59, 3-putted 17. But I was with a prospect, a member that I was a membership director at that time, and I was kind of more interested in whether he was going to sign up to be a member. So we were just having fun. But yeah, shot 60, shot 63 on the tour several times, maybe 4 or 5 times out on the PGA Tour. But I never really took it real low on the tour where I was, had a chance.
65, 64, 65, 65, 64 is pretty low.
I had a 63.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 1 week.
I'll tell you, I had a friend who was a good golfer. He played on the mini tour. He said the difference between him and you guys was on his good day, he could shoot a 68. On a bad day, he could shoot a 83. On your good day, you could shoot 63, 64. On your bad day, you shoot 76.
Yeah. Yeah. Minimize the destruction out there. Keep it around 72 or 73. That's the key first couple of years on tour, is to not blow yourself out of tournaments and not let it get away from you.
When you got a pairing on a tour, who would you love to be paired with? When you saw the draw, who would you love to be paired with the first 2 rounds?
Love being paired with Fuzzy. Great pairing. In 80, when I played in 86, when I won the Bob Hope, I was paired with Norman a lot in the first couple of rounds because we were, winners. It seemed like I played with him at least 4 times the first couple of rounds there in 86 and 87. He was fun to play with. Just watching, the way he would attack the course and the way he would drive the ball. Tom Watson was great, had a great attitude. Hubert Green, kind of fun. Very few bad pairings, really, but
what's coming next.
A lot of fun guys.
You know what's coming next. Who would you hate to be paired with?
I hate to be paired with the guys that would complain about every little bad bounce or look, did you see the wind quit blowing on that one? And I'm like, I didn't even see the shot. I'm not even watching you play, really. I missed it. Don't really care. No one cares where your shot went except for your caddy, maybe. But you had guys that
You're not going to name names, obviously.
No, probably. No, there are very few guys, but seem to have more guys that complained back in the day when I was playing than, the attitudes they have out there now.
At that level, when you're in that kind of competition, there's not a lot of conversation going on between you and the guys you're playing with, right? I mean, they're really intent, right?
No, not necessarily. I mean, you get with Fuzzy or Watson or some guys that talk a lot, but
Trevino talked a lot.
Which one?
Trevino talked a lot.
Oh yeah, Lee was great. I got to play with him 1 year in Dallas. We played a twosome, and he was fun. He was great. He was great everywhere in the clubhouse and all over the place.
I played with Lee once at Pebble Beach. We played with Lee and George Lopez, and after 3 or 4 holes, I was choking. And on the fourth tee, Lee comes up to me and he says, "Frankie, nobody came out here to watch you. Relax."
Yeah. Don't worry, we're sure you're doing it.
Yeah. That was
I remember seeing George at Pebble one year when he was playing the tournament after he had moved there. And so I was asking him about, how he liked living there. And he said, it's great, except every course I play, they want me to start raking the bunkers.
Yeah, that's him. I bought George's house, his first house in Pebble, and we still go there a lot. So if you're ever coming out and you want to play, give me a call. You can stay at the house. You can use the house whenever you want. So you got to.
Wow, that would be fun. Yeah, I don't think we've ever played golf, so we got to get out sometime.
Well, you wouldn't play with me either, but we wouldn't go out for sure. What are you doing now, Donnie?
I'm doing real estate now here in Florida, kind of specializing in golf course communities, mostly around Orlando, but I kind of, I have some agents in Palm Beach, Naples that know the golf courses really well. They know the country clubs and the personalities, what the fees and conditions and things like that. So I try to help people that are moving to Florida kind of connect with just a perfect golf course for their personality. And of course, I know, all the courses in Orlando, so that's my specialty. But it's been fun. It's been a good 3 or 4 years and learning a lot. Something you can do for a long time. And it just seems to, I like people. I've always enjoyed being around people. So it's kind of fun for me to do that.
Hey, let me ask you, what benefits do you derive from being a PGA golfer now? Does the tour give you? Do you have a retirement plan? Because I hear the PGA retirement plan is pretty good.
Yeah, the tour retirement plan was excellent. And luckily it started the same year I started the tour in '83. So it's a great plan. You kind of made money on the cuts that you made. So every cut you could make a little bit of money, and it would go into your account at the end of the year. And then after 15, 20 years or so, you could start collecting it after you're 50. And I'm still collecting from that, and it goes for another 10 or 12 years. They give us access to all the TPC courses once you win a tournament on tour. I can go up to play TPC Sawgrass, and we're members at all the courses, and that's a good thing because the practice facilities are great at all the courses, and they have good food at all the TPC courses too, so it's a nice combination. But the tour's been it's been a great asset for me to be able to use the years of experience out there, kind of in the business world a little bit. You still have a lot of friends around the country, and I still enjoy playing with a lot of them.
If you went out and played today, what would you shoot?
If Billy gives me, those 4-footers, I'd probably shoot like 3 or 4 under, maybe. I still keep it around par, pretty good. Wow. Around par. Yeah. Little under here and there.
You have any desire? I know you're almost 65 now. Any desire to try the Champions Tour anymore?
I may try a few qualifiers this year, but as far as mounting a comeback or something like that, I don't think so. I'm having too much fun right now with the real estate. Yeah, the market's hot, but it was great. It was great playing. When I turned 50, the first 2 or 3 years, it was really fun getting back with the guys again, getting back into competition. But right now, man, those guys are so good. You got 50-year-olds coming out right now that are, just great players. Stuart Appleby, I think he's going to start playing. But a lot of good 50, 51-year-olds. Justin Leonard will be out this year, if you can believe that he's going to be 50.
That's unbelievable. What's the funniest thing that ever happened to you in a tournament round when you're on your career?
I'll tell you one funny little thing. When I was paired with Jack Nicklaus at Oakmont, the third round. Well, I'll tell you the first part of the story. We're standing on the tee, and Leroy Neiman is on the back of the tee with his sketch board back there, and he's painting. And I nuzzle up next to Jack, And he looks over, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to get in some artwork, Jack. And we're standing there the third round. He looks me right into the eye and says, Donnie, you'd think we'd have a little more something serious to think about right now. And then we look down the fairway at the fairway that's like 20 yards wide. And I look at Jack and I think you're right, Jack. I see why you've won so many majors. But that day we're on like the 12th hole and we're standing. We've got a pretty good gallery out there. A lot of people still following Jack, probably 2 or 3 people deep on the tee. And somehow this little squirrel got between the feet of, the spectators, and he ends up right on the tee there. The back teeers were waiting, playing with Chip Beck too. And he's terrified. He's looking around. He's trying to figure out a spot to be able to exit the stage. And every time he makes a move, he comes back toward the center, toward Jack, and we're all just standing there kind of cracking up. It was really funny. It was, probably one of the few times that I laughed on the course playing with Jack, but because he was so serious, and for good reason, because he was trying to win every tournament.
Wow. Derek, you got closing questions?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. So just circling back on the confidence, the mental part of the game and the confidence, I'm curious about the conversations that you're having with yourself, what kind of mental work you do as a golfer, off the course, on the course, because you did mention that it's 70% mental or more or less around that number. I think I would guess that number as well. So I'm curious about that kind of mental work you guys do.
I tell you, Derek, if you could only document the conversations that you have with yourself and put them into text, it would be volumes of material, and a lot of it not that good, because you seem to be, some negative talk, like, well, if you miss the cut, are you going to go into the city for a couple of days if you're playing New York, or you're going to go home early, or you're going to go maybe on the coast, up the coast to Napa and drink some wine maybe. But you're having all these conversations with yourself on Thursday and Friday. That was before Bob Rotella came out and kind of helped us think a little differently, a little more positively. But it was tough. And once I got to the point where you're going over these stories 5 or 6 different times, and you're like, okay, we've already gone over that story, a month ago. You don't need to talk like that. Let's just break this down to each individual shot, and, commit to the shot, and then don't worry about the results so much. And when you kind of free yourself up to focus on the shot, go through the pre-shot routine, and then hit it with as much commitment as you can, and then just let it be free. Let yourself be free and not so dependent on the outcome and where it's going to end up and what's going to happen. That's when you can start enjoying the game a little more, and it becomes a lot more fun too. But that took years on the tour to be able to do that.
Yeah. Billy and I were talking before you came on, and he said he read where if you took the pin out of the green and you just tried to hit the ball to the middle of the green, you would be far better golfer for guys like us than if you shoot straight for the pin. And I said, of course, that's the way I play, because I know I'm going to miss it left or right. I just hope that I miss it on the side that the pin is on.
Yeah, I think to play really good golf on the tour, that's how you give yourself the best odds, is you take a conservative line. If it's cut back left, you can kind of aim it at the middle of the green and try to work it back there. If it doesn't draw, you're maybe 15 feet from the hole, but you're always wanting to keep yourself short of where the flag is, a little short if it's in the back, a little right if it's on the left, and give yourself a lot of putts, because you short side yourself on tour, and you're going to create a lot of tough up and downs. And that's a great strategy for amateurs, Frank, is to, take it at the middle of the green, but just for the heck of it, be totally committed on every shot. Just try to do that as many shots as you can during the round, and it will help. Might not make you, two handicapper, but it's going to give you a better chance of hitting, good solid shots.
You just mentioned total commitment. For myself, I make total commitment maybe 10 shots around because I'm playing with my friends. I'm fooling around. I'm thinking about everything other than putting a good swing on a golf ball. You guys have to make total commitment every shot of every round, and if you fail, that's where the doubles and the triples come in. Is that correct?
That's practice, just like your swing. You want to practice that positive thought. That's part of your pre-shot routine is pick the target. Think of, take a little practice swing and then try to just be, I don't care where this is going to go. Like I was just talking with Derek, is just totally swing away. Don't try to steer it, because when you steer it, it's going in the parking lot. It's going over into the little billabong over next to the green. But until you get that total freedom to swing away with a little bit of confidence, steering is not the way to go.
So this is sort of like I remember watching the Tiger thing, the Tiger documentary. This is kind of a Zen focus. It's almost like you guys it's a meditative practice to keep yourself in focus on the course.
Yeah, it is. It's the mental part fits in with the pre-shot. It's kind of like the trigger when you pull the 6-iron out of the bag. When you pull the club from the bag, that's when you go into your sequence, and you're standing behind the ball. You're picking out a little tree just to the right of the pin that you want to start. You play your little draw, so you think of your pre-shot routine, what you're going to do with your practice swing to make it draw, and then you get over the shot and try to be as confident as you can. It makes it tricky when all of a sudden there's like a TV camera behind you, or a guy, you're in contention and the camera guys come running up behind you, and that a lot of your friends are getting ready to watch you hit this shot on TV, and who knows where it's going to go. But those are the things when you build up on tour that you kind of get into contention, but then you're going to hit a lot of shots on TV. That's when it becomes really important, is to kind of stay within your routine, and to be able to do that, consistently week in and week out.
Yeah. Do you have nightmares?
About golf? I will now after
meeting me.
For keeping my game with Billy and Frank. It's going to take days now to get back to where I was yesterday.
That's funny.
Billy, you got any last questions?
We'll work on your mental state. All right, don't worry about that. We'll have you in a straitjacket by the end of the interview. Like, one quick question, and thanks very much for coming on, Donnie. Really enjoyed to talk to you. As a hacker, it's just fun to talk to a guy who knows what he's doing. When you have a large gallery, like you're playing with Jack, you're paired with Jack, and there's a large gallery, there's enough pressure on you already. Does that affect you, not being used to an enormous gallery? Of course, when you're leading in the Masters, you'll have that. But
it really does. Jack was tough to play with because he was, it's just you're playing with the greatest. He plays the game pretty intensely out there, his concentration. Everyone's yelling, Jack, go get him, Jack, do it, Jack. You don't hear, come on, Donnie, let's go, Donnie. Your mom's even yelling, good shot, Jack. She's not even chiming in for me. So it's pretty tough when you're up there playing with a world-class player, until you get used to playing with him week in and week out. So, and the guys, it showed that one year that Tiger won the Masters when he was paired with a guy, like on Friday, and they're up near the lead, and the guy he's playing with shoots 77, Tiger shoots 69. The next day, the guy paired with Tiger shoots 75, Tiger shoots 68. I think that was the year he won by a bunch of strokes, but it is tough because it just gives you one more thing to think about instead of what you're trying to accomplish on the golf course.
I'll close. Again, I'll emphasize what Billy said. It was great having you on. But I want to ask you, what was your best finish at Pebble Beach? And what was your best round at Pebble Beach?
Pebble Beach, I did shoot 67 one year at Spyglass that was my first year on tour. I shot 67 at Spyglass, and then I was in the last group on Sunday with Tom Kite, just the two of us. And Tom ended up winning the tournament. It was a terrible day. It was raining, windy. I think I shot 5 over. It was so tough. I had wearing a rain suit all day. I'm coming in from Florida where I'm used to playing in 80, 85 degree sunny weather. And it was really tough, plus being in the last group. But I remember I had a pretty good week that week. I think I finished 12th or so. But another year I played there at Pebble with Trump, the 3 rounds. He was partners with Paul Gordos, and Harry Crosby was my partner. But Trump had a hole-in-one on 12 the first day at Spyglass. And, he was a good player. He was carrying a 1 handicap back then. And
how many putts did he rake? Not in the tournament.
Yeah, I think his chief of staff gave him a few putts that week.
And so I'll look forward to getting out anywhere where we can meet and having you shoot my age.
All right, that makes it good, Frank. You got me only by a couple.
Yeah.
I really had fun with you guys. Let's do it again sometime.
We will do it for sure.
Man, you were terrific.
Thanks again, Donnie.
Really appreciate you coming on.
And again, Donnie was a member of the Jacksonville University, the first class of the Jacksonville University Hall of Fame with Artis Gilmore and my friend Alex Mihaljevic.
Great.
Yeah, that's right. We got a nice connection there, Frank. It's always good to talk. I appreciate all the information when you give me little tidbits like that. I love it.
Billy and I will both sign a book. We have never done this for a guest. We'll sign a book and send you a copy of If These Lips Could Talk and save you $27.
Right. Thank you.
So make sure we have your address.
Donnie, are you still flying?
No, not anymore.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that another time.
We'll get together for another time for sure. Thanks so much, Donnie. It was
Thanks
great
so much,
having
man.
you.
Great chatting with you guys. Take care.
Really cool.
Have a nice weekend.
Yeah.
Another good guest.
Yeah, he was from Maryland too. He was a big cult fan back in the day. Back in the Unitas, Lenny Moore, the Spats days. He was a big cult fan.
He was 1 year old when Lenny Moore was.
Well, supposedly he was a big cult fan for coming out of there. He was a big Johnny U fan.
Yeah, I would think that for sure. For sure. Well, another good guest.
Great guest.
Great. So I'll be interested to see in the PGA whether Dustin Johnson wins one or not, one of the majors. See how Tiger does at St. Andrews. It'll be interesting. We got something to look forward to.
I'll tell you a quick story. I probably told you this already, but I don't think I ever told it on the air. When I was in Ireland, I wanted to play golf, and I'm a terrible golfer, but I'm in Ireland, and I went to Ballybunion, which is an old course in Ireland, and they make you get a caddy.
I'm surprised you didn't go to Old Head.
The old head of Kinsale. Actually, that's not too far from where I was born. But anyway, I'm playing Ballybunion, and they make you get a caddy, and I'm terrible. But you got a 16-year-old kid. I know the kid's about a 3 handicap. He's caddying for me.
This should be a short story because I got to go. I got to go to bathroom.
Very quick. So anyway, I'm terrible. I'm all over the place. I know this kid's breaking my chops. He's a wise ass, 16-year-old Irish kid. And finally, I get to this island hole, right, par 3, and I take my club and I'm 7-iron or something. And I miss the island. Of course, I'm in the water, the Atlantic Ocean. And the caddy looks up to me and says, "That time, Yank, you managed to miss the whole country of Ireland." You little son of a bitch. Wise asses.
Yeah, those Irish caddies or Scottish caddies and
Same
Irish
deal.
caddies, pretty bad. I had a caddy at Troon, and I hit one. I hit it this way. The green was there. I hit it this way. We got there, and he says, "I had never been here before, mate."
I love it. They're such wise. That's great. That's great.
So we've taken up enough of our audience's
Yes, we
time. Be well, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, please. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Next week's guest, music producer, prolific composer, and author, Mark Blatt.
We'll see you next week.